It's time to get all set for Sunday, a podcast for busy and distracted Catholics with your hosts, Scott Williams and Jeff Traylor.
When I hear the coffee brewing, I think, what the heck we doing? Because I got barely any sleep last night. As the diaper bag I pack with Hot Wheels dollies and some snacks, I say a prayer there'll be a seat in the crime room this time. It's alright, cause I'm all set for Sunday. It's alright, cause I'm all set for. It's alright, cause I'm all set for. It's alright, cause I'm all set for Sunday.
Welcome to All Set for Sunday, a podcast for busy and distracted Catholics to be a little more prepared for Sunday Mass, to bring a little more light into the world.
Hey.
My co-host is, I'm Scott, co-host
Hi.
Jeff. Hey, Jeff.
Hey, Scott.
How's it going?
It's great, man. Happy birthday.
Thank you. Sort of happy birthday.
Yeah.
Happy anniversary.
Happy
Perhaps.
anniversary of the founding of your company.
Yeah. It's been 8 years since we started
Congratulations.
Sock Religious and Catholic Concepts. I guess Catholic Concepts were later, but
Yeah.
Big
That's
8
awesome.
year.
It's an awesome 8. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's exciting stuff.
Congratulations.
It's been fun to celebrate around here. It's what you guys have done is really cool. So
It's been a great joy most days. Father Christian Rapp, how are you?
Great. It's great to be here. And again, congratulations on your anniversary. That's terrific.
Thank you. You know, a lot of people go to college for 7 years.
Dr. Sock Religious. That's perfect. Or father. So,
That's true.
Yeah.
A lot of people go to seminary for 7
8
years.
Yeah.
How many years?
Probedeutic year.
How many years were you in seminary, Father?
I was actually only in seminary for about 5 years. Yeah.
How many, how many total years in seminary?
Seminary, about 5.
But also teaching.
Oh, well, I'm on my 10th year of teaching in the seminary. Yeah.
Just shy of a decade.
Yeah. So I came in right before they had a reform, like in the education standards. And so they added a year of philosophy, and I got in right before that. Plus, I came in with some credits from studies I'd had before. So I only had to do 5 years of seminary. And then also because of the Benedictine formation, I took a little bit of time off too. Yeah.
Nice.
Like purgatory.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
All right. Ready for the 2-minute drill?
Yeah. Scott, guess what?
What?
It's my favorite name of a Sunday solemnity.
Oh, yes.
It's my favorite. I've been so excited since last week when I realized it was coming. But Solemnity of our Lord Jesus Christ, King of the Universe. Otherwise known as Christ the King. Sunday.
Reminds me of Pinky in the Brain.
Yes. Take over the world. Yes. No, I love this. I love it. Like, Solemnity of our Lord Jesus Christ, King of the Universe. It's my favorite. I think everyone should say the whole thing. Christ the King, really great phrase. Don't get me wrong. I'm a big fan of it, but I like the King of the Universe piece. Like, Let's just make it clear.
What should we celebrate this week? How about Jesus?
Yes.
King of the Universe.
King of the Universe. I love it. So our first reading comes from 2 Samuel chapter 5. So the tribes of Israel show up, and they're all gathering together, and they're like, listen, David, you've been doing all the heavy lifting anyway. You've been taking care of us. Let's go ahead and just make you king. How about you just be king of everything? So David nods, and they make a covenant before the Lord, and boom, he's the king of Israel. And it's the guy who was like he was like interim anyway, right? Like
interim.
he was already interim king, but we just went ahead and formalized it and gave him the title. It's perfect. The responsorial psalm this week is "Let us go rejoicing to the house of the Lord." So,
Banger.
I don't know if this psalm as written is a banger, but isn't this like the hand clap song?
I don't know.
I rejoice when they said to me, "Let us go into the house of the Lord."
Oh, maybe.
You know that one? But it's like cross clap.
I think that's a Ron Colley thing.
I don't know. I knew it before then.
Oh.
But
I'm not
Anyway.
sure. Do you guys do that
So-
at seminary?
No.
Okay.
It doesn't involve an organ.
Do you think it's a banger, though?
Uh,
Let us go rejoicing into the house of the or rejoicing to the house of the Lord.
I think if it's like, let us go rejoicing in the house of the
it
Lord.
has going for it that it's a memorable phrase,
Hmm.
and but it is not one that I can really remember a tune for.
Okay, well, there we go. Second reading.
All right. Second reading then is from Colossians chapter 1. Paul turns up the theological fireworks a little bit here.
As one should.
Yeah, he's firing it up, and he reminds us that we need to give thanks that God has made us fit to share in the inheritance of the saints, which, like, that's pretty cool to think like we can have that inheritance. And then he lets us know, like, it puts out there for us, like, one of the greatest hymns we've ever heard, that Jesus is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of all creation, the glue holding literally everything together, the head of the church. He just throws it all down for us and reminds us, if we have a king of the entire universe, this is it. Our gospel comes from Luke chapter 23. The rulers sneered at Jesus, and he saved others. Let him save himself if he is the chosen one, the Christ of God. Even the soldiers jeered at him. As they approached to offer him wine, they called out, "If you are king of the Jews, save yourself." Above him there was an inscription that read, "This is the King of the Jews." Now one of the criminals hanging there reviled Jesus, saying, "Are you not the Christ? Save yourself and us." The other, however, rebuking him, said in reply, "Have you no fear of God, for you are subject of the same condemnation? And indeed, we have been condemned justly. For the sentence we received corresponds to our crimes, but this man has done nothing criminal." Then he said, "Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom." He replied to him, "Amen, I say to you, today you will be with me in paradise."
No, that's a banger. Jesus.
That's
remember
right.
me. Yeah.
Jesus.
I wish when they said, "Are you not the Christ?" he would have said, "Yes, I am, of the universe."
King of the universe. That would have been good.
All right, Father Christian, did Jeff get anything wrong?
Who am I to judge?
All right. What are you preaching on this weekend?
That was almost out of my nose.
Well, I don't know exactly what I'm going to preach on, but I think I want to say something about the whole idea of leadership. Obviously, one of the things they point out to us in seminary is that kings are not something we have a ton of firsthand experience with. But leadership never goes away, right? So in any generation, you always have leaders. And so what does it really mean to be a leader? And when we, have that first reading with David, David's a shepherd, and the scriptures give us the image of the shepherd as one of a great image of leadership. Also kind of one that might be more unfamiliar to us because it's not such a huge part of our world, but certainly because we've been to the, part of the biblical imagination for a long time, we have some idea of shepherds, what they do. David's a shepherd, and the main thing about a shepherd is that they're leading their sheep, they're taking them somewhere. And I think that's an important thing, is like that a leader has a kind of a vision, and they're trying to get them somewhere, a vision of the good. They want to bring them somewhere good. And we hear critiques of weak leadership. And I think a lot of times that's when somebody doesn't really have a vision of the good, or they're not actually trying to get them anywhere. They're just kind of reacting to people where they are. These are things that make for weaker leadership. We can think about how the shepherd not only is taking the sheep somewhere, but he's also got to protect them along the way and provide for them. So we have this kind of good shepherd image in David. And of course, Jesus is the ultimate good shepherd who lays down his life for the sheep. But as I was getting into the gospel, like one thing that really caught my eye, and it's just very interesting because, we go back to the scriptures every year, and some things you might not notice, over years and years and years, and then it just pops out, right? And what really struck me as I was looking at the gospel this time was that the rulers, the soldiers, and the bad thief, who tradition calls Gesmus, they all expect Jesus to save himself. In fact, and they connect this to the idea that he's king. They're like, hey, if you're the king, save yourself, right? So there's this kind of expectation or this notion that what a king does, a powerful person, that's what they do. They save themselves. They're self-interested. They're out for their own, they're out to protect their own self. That's kind of what a king does. And it's sort of like, hey, you're the king, why don't you save yourself? 3 times we get that in just the first couple sentences of the passage. And of course, Jesus doesn't save himself. He's too interested in saving us to be focused on saving himself. And I think this is also like an important kind of lesson for leaders. I think one of the temptations of leadership, power, responsibility is that we can get really focused just on not only serving ourselves, but you could say saving ourselves, especially if we've done something wrong, or if we are, let's say, like there's something we're really bad and not good at. We don't want people to see that we need help. And so going back to that whole thing about like people these days sometimes critiquing weak leadership, Jesus, I think, maybe shows us something that those critiques don't always get, which is that, Jesus is the most powerful and the most innocent person in the universe. And he doesn't mind being seen as weak. And he doesn't feel the need. He also is willing to be seen as guilty in a sense, right? Even though he's not. I don't know if you ever watched that show, like what is it? Not CSI, NCIS. There was that character Gibb, and he would always, like when he was like mentoring the young investigators, he'd be like, "Never say sorry; it's a sign of weakness." And Jesus, what Jesus is showing us is like the total opposite, right? That a true good leader will admit if they have done something wrong, or they will admit like if they need help. And I think that goes down to like everything from, we see it in our church, like we think about all the scandals the church went through. And like on the one hand, you have the problem of the scandal, the sex abuse scandal, but even what was worse were the leaders who started to try to save themselves rather than confront the problem, right? Rather than say, hey, we really screwed up and we're sorry. We need help of outside authorities, right? We see it in politics when people don't take responsibility for what they've done. And just to go down to like the level of the people, right? I think like parents and families, if you mess up, it's okay to say you're sorry. If you discover that you have like a need for like counseling for if you're a married couple, or like you need personal counseling, like it's okay to need that, right? Like we don't have to think that saying I'm sorry or showing our vulnerability or weakness means that we're a failure and failures as leaders. It could actually be really the way we're imitating Christ, who doesn't try to save himself, but in fact, when is necessary, was willing to be seen as weak and even guilty, even though he was innocent. So that's kind of those are the lines I've been thinking along.
Yeah. So outside of Jesus, like who do you look to in terms of leadership?
Well, I'm surrounded by, I think a lot of good leaders at St. Meinrad, in terms of just I don't know exactly. I think it would depend a little bit on what aspect of my life you're talking about. So, or are you asking me like for other people?
Like just in general, who are leaders you look up to? It could be
Me.
yeah.
Um,
Like for their style, their approach.
Sure. Yeah. Well, for example, the pastor that I work for at the parish, I think is a very good leader. He and I are very different. He's not an academic at all. I kind of live in an academic, world, even when I'm not in it. Like that's where my brain is. But he is just a man who is kind of very calm, always in his leadership, always takes the high road when there are conflicts or gossip or things like that. Doesn't get caught up in that. So I admire him for those things. And then he's just extremely generous. And so those are things that I look up to and admire in him.
Yeah, I think so much of leadership has to revolve around like emotional intelligence, and I'm often wondering like how does someone exercise that muscle? How do you get good at being emotionally intelligent and be able to respond like prudently and with grace and generosity to things that could set you off or put you in a bad mood or inflict pain or suffering upon somebody else?
Yeah, like how to grow an emotional intelligence.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that like has an interesting relationship between what we learn in the gospel message and how Jesus led versus, I don't want to say like how Jesus led isn't real world leadership, but I think that there's an interesting combination between the two of those where we meet the person face to face and have those conversations versus just going to confession, asking for forgiveness.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I think that's a great insight and a good question. I think like a lot of things, it's something we have to practice. We have to. It isn't. I don't think it's okay to say that maybe this doesn't come natural to everybody or even most people, right? And some people are going to be raised in a way where maybe it is more kind of second nature, but I think for a lot of people it isn't. And so you have to get involved in relationships where you start practicing. And as you practice being vulnerable, taking responsibility, being open, I think you grow in your ability. It's like learning a second language, immersion. It's an immersion program. So you have to enter into those friendships, into those relationships, and then you get better at it.
Yeah. Do you think it's a delicate balance between, both you being a religious, but also priests both take a vow of obedience? Do you think that helps people be a better leader, or is it or more difficult to lead when you take that vow?
That's a good question.
Because at the same time, people are like, you have a vow of obedience to a bishop, but then at the same time, run this multi-million-dollar organization and make all the decisions, and we're going to hold you responsible for it.
Yeah. I think the vow of obedience is helpful. There are no magic wands to obviously to protect all bad things happening from in leadership, but the vow of obedience can be a check, certainly, like on bad leadership, because it's a structure of accountability. And so we have a good structure in place. It doesn't always get used, unfortunately, but I do think it's kind of beautiful that in the Catholic Church, like sometimes people think of priests or bishops, cardinals as being very powerful, but all of them are under a vow of obedience, and that there's something beautiful about that. Yeah. And I think I suppose that like anything, a vow of obedience could stifle creativity. Like all the virtues are basically, well, Aristotle says that we can screw up through an excess or a deficiency. So what does he mean? It's like you can, if obedience is a virtue, in a way you could have an excess of obedience, and that would be that would be bad. What that would mean is like God gave you these natural capacities to think about things, to intend things, to make things, to take initiative. If you just like surrendered all of that and were like, I'm just going to be a marionette in somebody else's hands, then you wouldn't be a very good leader, right? So that is a way that leader, I think, misapplied, that vow of obedience could get in the way of leadership if you just sort of acquiesced responsibility through that vow. Yeah.
Okay, I went rogue on the leadership conversation.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that was sticking with me when you were talking about like Jesus as a leader and like the what he sets here, and like again saying that it's not the don't ever show your weakness. It's sometimes in some ways it's the opposite of owning mistakes and owning like I
take
read
your responsibility.
I read a book on leadership, so I know everything about it. But no, I did read a book that struck me well and has like helped shape me in leadership roles. That was all about ownership, like and like the idea of like owning mistakes, but not even just like your own mistakes, but others as well. Like if you're leading, if you're guiding, and others are making mistakes, how do you own that? And how it does multiple things. One is it drives you to accountability over those that you lead and like in the proper way, but also it helps like diffuse a little bit this like tension of like nobody can be wrong and nobody can admit weakness, and like that like immediately owning something and taking that on helps other people loosen their shoulders a little bit and say no, I also could have done something different here. But I feel like in many ways that's what we see in Christ. Like Christ didn't do anything wrong, like we know that, but he often was saying he was sorry, and he was often sorry for how people were feeling and what their experiences were and how others had treated them, and like and owned that, and reality like owned the sins of humanity and like and taking that on and to show how I don't know, show that at a different level. But
well, there are these two great moments. There's the moment of his baptism, and there's the moment of his crucifixion, in which he though he is innocent, truly identifies with sinners, right? And so even though, I mean, this is something he does that I'm not saying this is like, I'm not saying that we should take responsibility for guilt that we don't have. I don't think that that's what we're doing or the way we're supposed to follow Jesus. But what he is showing us by going through baptism and by accepting condemnation as a criminal is that when we in fact have sinned, we shouldn't run from it. We shouldn't hide it. We shouldn't. We need to take responsibility and accept the humiliation or the embarrassment that might go with that. If he goes before us as our first Adam, as our father in faith, our older brother, he goes before us to show us, in a sense, how to enter into this. And I think by following his example, we take responsibility when we've screwed up, or just responsibility for the fact that we, need help. Nobody in the world, or then or now or ever, was more powerful than Jesus Christ, and yet he wasn't afraid to be seen as powerless. He wasn't afraid to be seen as, in a sense, weak in this moment. This is a guy who calmed storms and healed paralytics, and yet, for a purpose, for a redemptive purpose, he was willing to be seen or cast in this light, and he did it as an innocent person. All the more if we are guilty of something, we have to take responsibility.
Yeah, I think that you pinpointed that really well, because I think a big part of it is fear. Like
Absolutely.
the fear of being wrong, the fear of failure, the fear of how someone's going to react when you admit that you screwed up. Jesus didn't have that fear. He wasn't afraid to belittle or to be humble or anything like that. I remember back in early days of like marriage prep, one of the sponsor couples was going on about, like, you can't just say sorry and move on with your life. You have to, like, if you messed up, you should ask your spouse for forgiveness, and then in turn, when he or she, like, when she's ready, you should forgive the other person. And I think that there's so much fear in outside of like the marital relationship of owning those failures and those mistakes and saying, hey, I screwed up on this project, or hey, I screwed up in this area of our friendship. I feel terrible about it. But like also asking for that second part, will you forgive me? I think that there's probably value in that second part as well.
Apart from guilt, the other place I think this fear comes up is just like when people really need help for something, that they find they're ashamed of or embarrassed about, and so you see this like maybe in somebody who needs to go to a support group of some kind. They're very afraid to be seen as weak, but that might be the strongest thing they could do, right?
Yeah.
And in fact, what kind of example they might be to other people by taking that step, even though it's embarrassing or humiliating. And I think Jesus, who didn't need to do that, nonetheless, by his example, gives us permission to not be afraid to be seen in this way, and goes there with us, holds us like when we look at him on the cross, we can say, he is walking through my humiliation with me right now, and he's going to help me come out on the other side. And that's, so it's for a redemptive purpose, and it's beautiful. I think the structures of power that try to they bill themselves as being there to lead and serve and protect others, sometimes end up just trying to protect themselves from that moment of vulnerability.
Yeah. All right. Ready for some dumb questions?
I am.
What you got?
All right, Father. The other day, I saw a post from our friend Father Patrick Hyde, guest of the pod, posted about their vocations wall at St. Paul's, and then I was zooming in to see who I knew up on the vocations wall. I was this many years old when I found out that Father Christian is an IU grad.
Oh,
I had no idea, which is really awesome.
It's true.
But so the question I want to ask is, how you feeling about them Hoosiers these
days?
Oh
man, like, it's unbelievable.
This is all I want to talk to. This is all I want to talk to anybody about, and so I found a reason.
It's just bizarre. It's kind of makes you think the end of the world might be coming. Go
back to last week's reading.
Yeah. Go Hoosiers.
Yeah, no, it's exciting, but no, I knew you were from Michigan. I've known a lot of things about you, but I don't know that I ever processed that you had been to IU. So you did your education degree there, correct? Weren't you a teacher?
I was, yeah. So I started actually pre-med at another school, and a much more expensive school. And when I had a 12% in calculus, that nobody had ever worked harder for a 12% in calculus, and decided I was not going to be a doctor, I transferred to IU because it was a little bit softer on the pocketbook, so I finished at IU, but I kept adding majors. So I was history, religious studies, and secondary ed is what I studied. And graduated from there. Yep.
Awesome. You enjoyed your time in Bloomington?
I did. Yeah. It was good.
It's like an aside, but it was shocking to see, like, there's a ton of vocations that have come out of that parish, which is really awesome. And continuing to.
Well, I'm very honored that my picture is up there. I actually have not really been back to St. Paul's there in a number of years, probably 15 years. So I should stop by sometime.
You should. If you ever want to make a trip, you let me know. I'm always looking for an excuse to go to Bloomington and hang out with Father Patrick. And
Awesome.
I also would love nothing more than just sitting back and watching you and Father Patrick talk to each other.
Yeah.
Because I think you have so much in common.
Yeah,
really brilliant.
Love to connect with him.
But also, like, in my mind, there's also this like secret Benedictine versus Dominican war that like maybe we'd watch play out, and it's like the Sharks and the Jets. You two start snapping, and who knows?
No,
that was a West Side Story reference.
I don't think that'll happen. No,
you never know.
You know, St. Thomas
Not after you hear what he said about you, am I right?
You know, Thomas Aquinas went to a Benedictine school, so.
What a line.
Got any for the Jesuits?
What's that?
Got any for the Jesuits?
Oh, well, St. Ignatius came up with the idea for the spiritual exercises on retreat at a Benedictine monastery.
Mic drop. What if we just started listing orders? Redemptionists, go.
I don't know about them.
All right, next time.
Okay.
All right, Father. Well, thank you for being on the pod.
I hope you managed to edit all our little tech glitches, but thank you for the invitation.
It's going to be exactly how it's going to be.
We'll put in the show notes.
Well, next time I'll be at a different spot and it'll go smoother. So thanks again for the invitation.
No, we love it, Father.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Father.
Bye.
It's alright, cause I'm all set for. It's alright, cause I'm all set for. It's alright, cause I'm all set for Sunday.